Welcome back, everyone. So in this video, let's apply some of our styles and have a better understanding of the way that React handles regular CSS. So right here, when we initialized our application in Create React App, we knew that we had also generated this app.css file. Inside of this app.css file, there are, of course, a bunch of styling that was related to that original spinning logo that Create React App scaffolded for us. Now, we don't need any of this anymore. So what we want to do is we want to start styling our application to look much more similar to what we had in the final output. So let's go here and see. What we have is, of course, we have this title, but then we also have this background, and we have these different cards that are styled in place of what we see now, which is just H1s. So let's start styling, and that way we can get an understanding of how this application works. So here, let's talk a little about structure. Inside of app.js, app.js represents the entry point to our entire application. There's a reason why, in most applications, app.js does not live inside of your components folder. And the reason for this is because app.js is not necessarily the same category of component as these other components. These other components represent reusable components in our application, whereas app.js, there is only ever one. You will not have multiple app.js's because, again, app.js is the entry point, represented as a component, into our entire application. Similarly, then we also have an app.css. This is going to be styling that should apply to your entire application. You can keep it in app.css, or if you don't like app.css, you can make a index.css file instead and import that instead into app.js. It's really just up to how you want to name this idea of a styling file that reflects styling that should be present across your entire application. So for us, what should go in there? Well, for now, let's look at this application. We know that this background is ever present, so let's actually add this into our application. So CSS inside of React is like CSS anywhere. I don't want to spend too much time on CSS because, generally speaking, there's so much JavaScript and React that we have to learn throughout this course. So what I'm going to do is give you all of the CSS that you are going to apply. I'm going to, of course, talk about how CSS actually operates inside of React and all of the considerations you have to make for it. But if we just talk about CSS, I'm going to spend hours on hours teaching CSS. So there's no real point to that when really the purpose is to learn React and JavaScript. So here, just look inside your resources folder and get that CSS file and just paste it into your app.css. Once you've pasted it in, save and go back to your application. And you will see that you now have this gradient background. So one thing to note about the way that CSS works inside of React is that no matter where you import it, as long as it's a general CSS file, React will build it all into one big CSS file so that no matter what, that CSS is always present in your application. Now, why is this an important thing to think about? Okay, let's discuss and represent how we should structure our CSS knowing that. And we'll better understand what I mean when I say this. Inside of your search box component, what you want to do is you want to write CSS that's relevant to the component. So I'm going to make a searchbox.styles.css file. This is just going to hold CSS that is only applicable to our search box. And of course, our search box component here, right now we are appending some classes on here. But let's say, for example, by using string interpolation, we can do this. So we have to wrap our string interpolation because interpolation is JavaScript inside of these squiggly brackets. And here with this interpolation, I'm saying, okay, I'm going to use some JavaScript in this string. I want you to take this variable and apply it. And we know class name is going to be a string. But let's also just say, for our sake, we say this is a search box. So I'm adding the class name search box. Right now, the property that we're passing in to app.js is also search box, and I'm just going to call this monsters search box. So when I save this, and I save this, if I go here and I look at this component, I will see that there are now two classes on here. There is search box and monster search box. So monster search box tells me, oh, this is a search box for monsters, but then search box is general styling. And this is important because inside of my search box styles, I can now target this search box class that I have by default in the component. If I wanted to overwrite some of these styles or add additional styles for the monster search box, which is a specific instance where I'm using the search box component for a specific purpose, then I can apply styling on that class. And that is dictated by whatever is passing it in. It makes it flexible like that. But I do want all my search boxes to have some general styling. So here, inside of here, you can just, again, look inside your resources folder, find that CSS code for search box, and paste it in. Now we save, and what we need to do is we need to import this CSS file into our search box component. So I'm going to say input, and then I'm going to go up in the same folder and just import searchboxstyles.css. Once I look inside of my code, I will see that this search box now has the styling. It's thicker now, it's bigger now. That was all we did for updating this. But one thing I want you to note, when I mentioned earlier that no matter where you import CSS, it will be present on the entire page. The important thing I want to say there is that this CSS does not mean it only applies to your search box component. So our targeting inside, of course, only applies to this class. But I mean that this file is not in isolation from the rest of our application. Because styles, CSS styles specifically, apply to the entire website. The file is present across the entire website. That means that other components are not protected from the styling that you write. Even though here, when you see this import, it makes it seem like I'm importing styling that's only relevant to search box. That does not mean that only within the context of this file is this CSS applied. Once CSS is actually bundled and then put onto a website, that CSS is applicable to every single component, every single HTML that's on that website. And a quick way that we can test this is if we look inside of our card list component. For this div that reflects our card list component, I'm just going to put a quick class name here. And I'm just going to say card list. And I want to do this just to demonstrate to you that we can target this from our search box styles. Let's say here I say .card list. And let's do something really bold. Let's set the background color to red. If I save this and I go back here, you see that this card list component's background is affected. And this is because, again, when you import a CSS file, that CSS file is going to be applicable to the entire website. The only reason why we put these imports at the component level is more so for us. When we are looking for our styling that is related to the search box, you want to put it where that component lives. And of course, you want to target your CSS so that's only relevant to the component's code inside. But this is just a designation for us as the actual developers. As far as the underlying technology is concerned, if you write CSS that will overlap with components outside of your component, it will still happen, exactly as we saw here. This .card list code in CSS is still going to affect other code. So that's an important thing to remember. Now, you might be wondering, is there a way that I can isolate my code so that the CSS doesn't overlap with CSS in other files? There is, and that involves learning some CSS in JS libraries, which we'll do in a later project, not this one. That is going to help us do the isolation. And we're going to definitely dive into why the differences with that one exist between this one, which is CSS in React. Now let's delete this style. And in the next lesson, let's style the rest of our application, including styling out our different users/monsters into their own respective cards. So I'll see you in the next lesson.